I'm afraid of loving too hard. I'm afraid I'll never be enough. We're out on the air.
What happened with your boyfriend?
The text just said, there's no we in Madonna.
Jenny Jennings, Phillip, McMahon of This Is Pop Baby. You began the company about 5 years ago. Did you imagine that in such a short space of time you'd end up here in the National Theatre?
Did you?
I think that we've just taken each year as it's come with This Is Pop Baby thus far. And to come from a remount of a show that Phillip wrote called Danny and Chantal Still Here, which is how we started, all the way throughout the 5 years to the main stage of the National Theatre. I don't think it's something that we planned for, but it's extraordinary to be here.
Yeah.
I think in a way, we definitely didn't plan for it. I don't think we expected it, but I think being here matches the ambition that we had at the start. And so that's great to kind of go, we had this idea, we said we were going to do something and we did it. But yeah, it certainly feels like a privilege to be here.
I gave him every part of me. I got down on one knee. I looked him in the eye and I asked if he'd go into negative equity with me. He said yes, but he didn't mean any of it.
I'm sorry.
If you lean into the wind, you can almost feel the finish line on your chest. It all ends tonight.
Part of the genesis of the story, the idea was floating around a little bit beforehand, but it was Arts Council application deadline time, and it was also my birthday, so we sat around my kitchen and with the Arts Council grand form in front of us and a couple of bottles of vodka. And we all started raiding my costume box, and the idea to create a musical was born.
Yeah, the idea is to create, so we wanted to create something that was really colourful, explosive, an event, and that very quickly morphed into a musical.
That's
we were
right.
like, how can we address all of these things that were part of our own culture, nightclubbing and drag culture and queer culture and, you know, festivals and music, and we're like, what can encapsulate all of these things and be very rooted in theatre and performance? And we were like, bing, musical, let's do it.
Musical, perfect. A lot of your other work typically shines a light on maybe parts of life and parts of Dublin that a lot of people tend to ignore. Does Alice in Funderland do that?
Possibly. I think that, I guess it does in the sense of that we're looking at a story about young people on a national stage, and I think that you don't always get that. I don't think that on main stages it always feels that contemporary or now. And our work is always, I guess, you know, we've used the term a lot, but the umbrella term is really about outsiders, you know, and kind of addressing those, shining a light on those stories and those lives. And I guess this does in some way, you know, this is obviously a much bigger beast and, you know, it works in a kind of a fairy tale way as well, but I guess possibly, but I guess in another way that's not really for us to say.
It's very, one of the starting points for the show, and actually a starting point for a lot of our work, is we talk about it being very connected to the city. So there were stories that bubbled up, you know, through the framework of Lewis Carroll's novels about city life. So there's dark stories and there's light stories and there's throwaway stories, but I think that it's a broad picture of the city, and you'll get some stories that aren't often shone a light on.
Yeah.
And we're in the National Theatre, it's full of drag queens and disco balls. Does it feel like a sort of watershed moment for you guys and for theatre in Ireland in general, do you think?
It feels for us, it feels very important to be here. You know, the Abbey have supported this this process throughout, and then for them to take a punt on it and go, actually, this feels like a story for now, and it feels like a story for a new audience and an existing audience. I guess it's for other young theatre makers or audiences to say whether they feel like it's a moment, you know. But it certainly feels like a big moment for us. We're just turning 5, and this feels like an amazing kind of place to arrive at.
I think I just saved your life.
Yeah, right. You nearly killed me. You should have just let me die.
How could I?
Have you ever seen The Lion King? It's a circle of life.
How does Alice stack up against the other work, you know, that you've been involved in?
Well, I guess Alice is different in that the collaborators on Alice are all people I've worked with for a very long time, or known for a very long time. And also I've been involved with the project since before really any of it was written or anything. So I guess I feel very kind of close and embedded in it in a slightly different way to how I would feel with, say, a classic or a play that had arrived already finished. Although I've had really lovely relationships with kind of writers who I've admired for a long time, like Tom Kilroy and Marina Carr at the Abbey. But it does feel in this instance that I was very much part of bringing this whole thing together, and that we were bringing something from our very particular experience onto the stage of the Abbey. So it feels less interpretive for me as a director than other work has sometimes felt. Yeah, so it is different in that way. And also, I guess because the language is a language that we created, and the performance styles are a style that we created from kind of improvisations from the very beginning, that, you know, it doesn't have the same, like, I'm so secure in the language of what it is or what it's supposed to be. We all are, that we can be very free with each other.
We're mates, like.
Wait, what?
Joined by circumstance.
Divulge.
We're all on the edge.